Morning, everybody. And so, we are here about concerning our Safe Shopping Initiative, and I want to start off with a little background. Boston has been, we've had a great deal of success dealing with violent crime in our city for many years, and certainly policing our city and working with all our partners to make sure violence or crime is certainly addressed. Mayor has previously asked me, certainly a while ago, is our community policing strategies, why can't we be using them for other portions and parts of our maybe lesser priorities than what we've been doing? And that's what we're here to talk about a little bit today. The fact is those same strategies actually work virtually almost any crime, particularly around partnership and addressing the drivers of those crimes. And that is what we're beginning to talk about here today. So we're kind of pivoting, not all our resources, we're certainly moving some of our resources on to address quality of life issues in the city, but more importantly, after a meeting that we had on March 2024, we created a working group with many of the men and women you see up here with us today, where we met with the Greater Chamber of Commerce to discuss strategies to address shoplifting and other related crime in our city. We needed input, information, and more importantly, partnership to make sure that we know all that we need to address the issues related to so many businesses in our city around this issue that we have traditionally not really prioritized in many ways. And so I'm going to start off with talking a little bit about some of the stats involved with it. There's been an increase in retail theft that's impacted many major cities in the U.S. According to the FBI incident-based reporting system, better known as NIBRS, shoplifting is up 93% higher in 2023 than it was in 2019. Additionally, according to National Retail Federation's Retailers Report, 93% increase in the average number of shoplifting incidents per year in 2023 versus 2019, and 90% increase in the dollar loss to shoplifting over that same period. Now, while the reasons behind these recent increase in shoplifting aren't known today, it'll probably take some time for us to figure out, the core issues behind it, but it's clear technology developments have made an impact as far as online sales of basically stolen merchandise and things of that nature for people to do that pretty easily, as well as some other things. Thank you. And as a result of coming together during this meeting, it led to the creation of our Safe Shopping Initiative. So in May 2024, we added BRIC analysts assigned to keep track of data to help gather information and trends on repeated locations and offenders to help better efforts in making sure that we are tracking the drivers of some of these things. This allows us to address safety, security, in retail stores throughout Boston, leveraging our combined resources and collective experience to deter crime, reduce shoplifting incidents, and protect consumers and retail staff by focusing on the drivers of crime. While we recognize that we will not eradicate shoplifting, we are working together to encourage better reporting and eventually lead to a reduction of crime in general in this area. We are focusing on three things in particular: repeat and chronic offenders, high-value offenders, and offenders who engage in violence, threats, and intimidation. We started with this initial group. Some of them are here behind me. But the ultimate goal is to leverage the knowledge of the retailers, the investigators, the district attorney's office, and forward the most impactful offenders and think of most impactful ways that we can have input in our districts throughout the city around this issue. This program will continue to extend through our neighborhoods as we work with independent retailers, mom and pop stores, bodegas, utilizing best practices and lessons learned as we further this program in general. The larger retailers have been great partners, and a wealth of expertise in these experts are being gathered from them. But we're also working to grow this, as I said, throughout many districts, as this is an integral part of our community policing plan now. The mayor has made Boston a welcoming home in the city for everyone, but I just want to add this one caveat. It is not a welcoming place if you want to come here for violent crime and, more importantly, to just commit any crime in general, and that includes shoplifting. So I just wanted to add again and emphasize this is a working group that we have with many of the business communities as our district detectives and so many different assets that we have here, are working with many different partners to try to figure out the drivers of some of these things, including with the DA's office, so we can make sure that we focus on the right folks to reduce the number of shoplifting incidents and therefore maybe reduce the cost to some of our citizens in general in our city. Up next will be the mayor, and I'll take some questions about this a little later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, and good morning, everyone. I am very excited to be here to share back some of the results of a really important partnership that was launched between the city, our police department under the leadership of Commissioner Cox and all of our officers, and our district attorney, Kevin Hayden. Thank you so much to you and your entire team, as well as, of course, our retailer and business partners. I just want to start really big picture that what we are working on every single day is for Boston to be a home for everyone, as the commissioner said, with that little caveat. To be the home for everyone, we have to be the safest city, the greenest city, the most family-friendly city. And all of that means that we're taking actions in the smartest possible way with the most focused resources to ensure that the health and safety and the prosperity of our community is supported from every possible angle. I want to thank the Boston Police for being such an important partner in building that foundation. As you've just heard, the efforts that BPD has led and the successes that we've been able to see, the significant progress when it comes to driving down violent crime, driving down homicides, driving down gun violence to not just the lowest level of our peer cities across the country, but the lowest levels that Boston has ever recorded. This city is the safest that we've seen in anyone's lifetime, dating back at least 70 years when we first started tracking this data consistently. And what that has allowed is for the resources and that same approach and dedicated focus to be applied to quality of life issues and the other kinds of concerns that our residents are coming to us every single day and every month at neighborhood associations, and that our business community is expressing as well. And so I'm really grateful to see such important spillover effects in a positive way, that because we have made progress in one area, that approach and that ability to then empower and direct resources to now focusing and going hard at targeting success in another area, we will be able to keep this going and keep rolling it forward to make sure that with the work that is still ahead of us, we can continue to demonstrate progress. All of this is because Commissioner Cox says in every space that I have seen him in, whether there are cameras there or not, whether it's at the academy with our recruits, or whether it's speaking at a graduation or promotion ceremony, or just out and about at roll call with our officers, that we are focused on community policing. And that means taking actions, setting our strategies and approaches based on data and information, and really based on solid partnerships, relationships with the community. That's the only way that we can get the information that's needed, but also the kinds of collaboration and coordinated action to really make a difference and deliver results. Just as we've seen when it comes to driving down violent crime, when we have the structures in place, when we have the reporting and the regular tables that community organizations come to every single month and every single week with our community safety team, with the DA's office, with BPD, with transit police, and all of our partners across the board, there's always space not just to be reacting after something tragic or negative or harmful happens, but to always be as intensively as possible focused on preventing crime and improving our safety, improving our collaborations day in and day out, no matter what season of the year it is, and no matter whether we have just had an incident or not, we're focused in the same way. So the Safe Shopping Initiative is possible because of that approach. It's possible because we have graduated the largest BPD classes that the city has seen in quite some time. They also happen to be the most diverse and representative of our communities and the languages spoken, thanks to the commissioner's leadership. And because of the deployment strategies that he has put in place, where now there are new community interaction teams, a new way for walking beats to be available and visible throughout the city in many of our neighborhood commercial districts and throughout our neighborhoods in downtown and in the Masson Cass area as well. We've been able to see community members empowered with even more information and the ability to help not just hear what BPD is doing, but also tell BPD and the city how we should be doing even more as well. The ability to have comp stats that are open to the community, because that information has been made available, public, of course, anonymized, and respecting all of the privacy and confidentiality concerns. But for the first time under this commissioner, each neighborhood has had access to the information that BPD used to have internally only, so that we can help community be part of the strategy and be part of the decision making and informing our approaches. So all of that is to say that we know there are challenges that cities around the country are facing. We know there's a lot on our family's shoulders. We know there's a lot that businesses have had to be dealing with, and we are so grateful for everyone who continues to choose Boston, to believe in our city, to make their home here, to invest in our community, and to be involved in a way that continues to grow the health and wealth and prosperity of Boston. The Safe Shopping Initiative is tackling an issue that, as you heard, cities and downtowns around the country have been seeing an increase in need for. When we know that our businesses are experiencing shoplifting, the previous traditional approach was kind of one size fits all. Something happens. If it happens to be reported, then it can go to, there may or may not be an arrest made. It may or may not get logged. It will go to court, and then there may or may not be specific consequences for that individual incident. But what we know from looking at the data, and more importantly, being in communication with our businesses and our retailers, is that it's much more is needed than just a one-size-fits-all approach. There are now the involvement and impacts of organized groups who might be targeting specific businesses and frequent flyers who are coming back again and again, either to obtain merchandise that they are trying to resell in other places or for other reasons that are breaking the law. Or there could be high dollar amounts that really have an impact in and can influence the safety of the business owners, the employees, and fellow shoppers as well. So this dedicated focus on not just treating things one by one as they come and reacting to them, but having a dedicated strategy that's based on all of the information, getting to the real issues. Where are frequent flyer situations happening? Where are high dollar amounts? Where are situations happening that are impacting safety and can be connected to violence and other larger harms for the others who are in those stores and in those spaces? And then having our approach match that. So rather than just treating each one as a one-off, BPD really putting in the effort and having the resources, and you'll hear more, I'm sure, to track very carefully, to assemble the case, to present the information to the district attorney's office in a different way than before, so that we can be clear when this is about one of those particular situations that sticks out more than just the previous one-off approach. And then working with our retailers so that we are getting more incidents reported. The last thing that we want is for the numbers to look good because the stats seem like they're down, but in fact that reflects the indifference or the feeling that businesses are giving up because they're thinking that this won't matter and there's nothing that we can do about it. There's always something that we can do to make our community safer, healthier, more connected. And I'm so thankful to our business owners for being at the table with us, for being involved, for helping to drive up these numbers actually, with the ask that we want everything to be reported so that we can know how to formulate the best approach and deliver results in the best way as well. So, whenever Boston takes an action, we are in the national news for it. Certainly, this is a national issue that many retailers, many large chain stores, and many cities are grappling with. And once again, I'm very proud that we are here to share a little bit about what we've learned from an approach that I know will also be a national model of taking things based on data, built on solid partnerships, and with an approach that targets getting to real results in driving down shoplifting by identifying the trends and identifying the impact players and the other organized groups that we can really ensure there's accountability for. So, okay, let me see if there's anything in my notes that I'm supposed to say. I want to just, again, thank the District Attorney's Office, because this really came out of something that doesn't always happen in government spaces. We're very used to, when a challenge is something that has always existed, like crime or like shoplifting, there are ways that it's always been handled. And so it takes a lot of extra resources to take a step back and say, how do we continue addressing things as they're happening, but also think differently and have a new strategy and really push ourselves to be better and to think about how we can be even more creative with how to get to the root causes and deliver results. Thanks to this work, we've received more accurate reports of shoplifting incidents, arrested more shoplifters, and seen longer sentences handed down to repeat offenders. There are a couple examples that have been lifted up that I'll share out here as well. In August of last year, thanks to the relationships that our officers built with businesses in District 4, they located, arrested, and charged an individual who had stolen nearly $34,000 worth of merchandise. When you start to connect the dots and see that these incidents are actually connected to a particular person or a particular group, then when there are consequences and when there's actual accountability there, there's a ripple effect as well in the safety impacts after that. Over the last few months, we've also increased foot patrols in Nubian Square. Thank you to our partners there and to all of our businesses and main streets to prevent shoplifting and larceny at the small businesses in that area. And we are really determined to keep that going. Last month, officers also arrested and charged a man with the theft of more than $2,300 worth of merchandise. After his arrest, it came to light that he had previously been charged with stabbing a shopper after mistaking the victim for a loss prevention employee. And so we know there are key tie-ins as well between shoplifting and the types of violent crime that we continue to drive down and look to prevent. And last week, the city installed new lighting in parts of Nubian Square so workers and shoppers can safely get around in the evenings as well. So we're taking an all-of-government approach here, leaning on all of our partners, and this Safe Shopping Initiative will ensure that we are now applying these strategies to an important quality of life and health and safety and well-being issue for our businesses, our residents, their customers. We're excited about the results so far and determined to keep them going. So thank you so much to all of our partners. I'm excited to and grateful to hand the microphone over to one of them who's been such a mainstay in all of our work. Thank you so much, District Attorney Hayden, for your partnership on every front. Thank you for your work on this one today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start off, by saying this, and I think by the time you're done hearing everyone speak, you'll have a very good sense of this. When we began formally, and with a concerted effort, the Safe Shopping Initiative back in 2024, let me be clear: the Boston Police Department, Commissioner Cox, the Mayor's Office, and Mayor Wu have been with us from Jump Street every step of the way. As have, and just as importantly, and probably more importantly, as have our retail associations, our neighborhood associations, individual retail stores with a vested interest in what's going on with regards to retail theft. We've all been involved. When I say we started this back in 2024, it wasn't just my office and the Crime Strategies Bureau. It wasn't just the mayor's office. It wasn't just Commissioner Cox and me and him putting our heads together. It was all of the people that are impacted by retail theft coming together collaboratively to work on this issue. To work on this issue in a way that will, and we are continually in a work of progress, we are always trying to get better, will impact this issue, just like we've addressed other issues regarding public safety in this city. So, you know, our Massachusetts Neighborhood Association, our Downtown Boston Business Alliance, so many others, individual stores, mom and pop stores, members in the Dudley Street area, so many have collectively come together to really address this issue. So, you know, let me dig in a little bit about what that really means. You know, our focus is on repeat and violent offenders that are impacting retail theft. Those who engage in retail theft repeatedly and with impunity, those who commit related acts of violence that threatens workers and members of the community, and those that help drive criminal enterprises for profit in their shoplifting enterprises will be held accountable. The approach that we're employing here is not any different than other approaches that we've achieved success for in this city in the past when it comes to addressing shootings, gun violence, street-related violent crime. We know that a small percentage of repeat offenders drive a disproportionate percentage of retail crime, and that's where we're focusing our enforcement. What's most important is that we want our stores, the places where people shop, the places where people get their needs, their prescriptions, their daily needs, whatever it may be, food shopping, electronic devices, whatever it is that's important to living one's life, we want those places to be safe. And we want those places to be safe for the workers that work there, and we want those places to be safe for the consumers that go there. That's our ultimate goal. That's why we call it Safe Shopping Initiative. And so that is ultimately our focus. And we have worked collaboratively with retailers and their employers and employees in order to identify repeat offenders and also to better utilize tools like no trespass orders and conditions of release when people do come to court to be held accountable. So we are employing every measure, and we're working on camera systems and how to better use those, and how do we better identify offenders that are transcending the city. They're not all shopping. When a repeat offender offends, they're not going to the same store over and over again. Sometimes they are, but oftentimes they're traversing the city. So we may have a repeat offender because he might have popped up in South Bay for the first time, but he was running rampant in Brighton before that, right? So we're focused on addressing these issues comprehensively. And we can't do that without all the other partners that are here today. We can't do that without the Downtown Business Association. We can't do that without the Mass Retailers Association. We can't do that without our partners from the Nubian Square. But that's how we're going to address this, and that's how we are addressing it. That's what the Safe Shopping Initiative is really all about. Now, let me also be clear. Low-level offenders driven by unfortunate circumstances that require an alternative will be handled with diversionary measures. Our services over sentences is a perfect example. We have our Veterans Court as well. There are a number of diversionary options that we have. Low-level offenders who need help and who need resources, we will provide those help and those resources, because if we don't, they will reoffend. If we don't, they will become the repeat offenders. If they don't, they will eventually maybe engage in an act of violence to avoid arrest or something of that nature. So we want to make sure that we are addressing the problem in the way that is most appropriate. So those repeat offenders, the violent offenders, the ones that are making money off an elaborate scheme of shoplifting, we will hold them accountable. Those who need help and treatment and services, we can and will funnel to services over sentences and other diversionary ways. And we have some examples of success in that. We have people that have been arrested in direct correlation to retail theft, who have then opted to place themselves into services over treatment program. I can think of 2 examples off the top of my head. One is a man, one is a woman. They placed themselves in the services over sentences program. They cleared every single case they have on their record, every one. They've cleared all their cases, so they have no more pending cases. They are sober. They have been sober for quite some time. Guess what? They're not reoffending either, right? They have residential housing. They're getting the care and the treatment they need that's preventing them from reoffending, from going out and shoplifting. One of them, who's a woman, just actually happened to get gainfully employed for the first time in many, many years. We want to prevent store closures. We don't want stores in our neighborhoods shutting down and closing down and being unable to provide a needed service, particularly for the elderly people that may live in the area, those who don't have means of transportation. We don't want stores closing down. We don't want retail theft impacting our communities in that way. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're going to continue to do it, and we'll continue to do it with increasing measure so that we continually, hopefully, have more and more success. Let's see if I have anything else here that I need to address. Just bear with me 1 second. I think that's really about it. I know that in 2025 alone, our services over sentences had over 123 referrals. Just in this year alone, 123 referrals to our services over sentences program. Our ultimate goal, again, is to work collaboratively with everyone to ensure that our places where people shop, our places where people do business, our people where people go and buy and meet their daily needs are safe. Safe for them, safe for the people that work there, safe for all of our communities. That's how Boston continues to be the shining example that we are, continues to be that city on a hill and that beacon of hope that, frankly, the rest of the nation can look to see how to do things successfully. And we do that together. We do that together with community. We do that together in partnerships, just like we always have. So we're employing the exact same strategies that have driven down homicides and shootings now into this issue involving retail theft. And I'm confident that as we continue on, we'll have even greater success. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Kearney. I'm Vice President and General Counsel of the Retailers Association of Massachusetts. I first want to thank Mayor Wu's office, District Attorney Kevin Hayden's office, as well as Commissioner Cox and their staff for all the work that they've done in standing up this Safe Shopper initiative. As indicated earlier, this is a growing problem nationally, and there's efforts in DC to try to deal with some of the larger transient issues. But locally, the way that the industry works is we work with local police departments and local DAs to create that public-private partnership where we can combine our resources to address this issue. The industry invests significant resources on personnel, on surveillance, on theft detection, you name it, to try to stop and address this issue. But at some point, that needs to be handed off to somebody in law enforcement to prosecute. Fortunately, we have willing partners in the Commissioner Cox, in the BPD, in the mayor's office, and in Kevin Hayden's office to take up that mantle when it's time to pass it along. We have evidence of repeat offenders that we have nowhere to go. Now we have somewhere we can pass, pick up a phone and make a phone call. I think that's the biggest positive development that we've made here with the Safe Shopper Initiative is the ability of my members to trust that when they pick up a phone and call somebody at whatever district they're operating in, that someone's going to come along and come along and address that call for service and help them. For too long, we weren't seeing that type of response, and now we're getting that response, and it's much appreciated. For our membership, they're looking for three things. They're looking for a safe environment to do business. They're looking for a safe environment for their workforce, and looking for a safe environment for their consumers. Those are their two biggest assets. And if those folks don't feel like they're safe coming into our shops, then they're not going to come into our shops. And there's too many avenues now with our phones serving as a virtual global shopping space that they can go elsewhere. And so the fact that the city has seen this as not only as a public safety issue but also as an economic issue has been welcomed from the industry. We estimate that it's about $2 billion in theft that merchants in Massachusetts lose to all levels of theft. That's shoplifting, that's repeat offenders, it's organized retail crime, it's cargo theft, and internal theft. And so the fact that we can now start identifying and maintaining records and data to show that this individual is not a first-time offender. This person has already been given an opportunity to kind of use the sentencing services over sentencing option, and they're actually plaguing on our communities and driving up costs for other honest consumers. They need to be held accountable, and the partnership and the commitment that we've received from both the mayor's office and the police department and DA Hayden's office has been much welcomed. I think that's all I really have to mention for today, but I really appreciate everybody including us, and thank you again for all the work.
Good afternoon. I'm Meg Meinzer-Cohen, president of the Back Bay Association, and I also want to reiterate my thanks to Mayor Wu, Commissioner Cox, District Attorney Hayden, but also Superintendent Paul, now I'm forgetting his name, Paul McLaughlin. He was a person who stood here with a whiteboard and really teased out a lot of the problems that were discussed in this room across the board citywide with different retailers. Shoplifting was considered at certain points a victimless crime, and we were able to talk about the fact that it was impacting not just customers, but also people working in stores, the fear that they would sometimes have, the fact that retailers would hold them accountable for the merchandise loss. And what this initiative did was it took issues that were generally considered in silos and put it into more of a safety net where there was overlap and cross-pollination and a lot of really important feedback given to us about how to be tackling the shoplifting that was happening, how to prevent some of the shoplifting that was happening. We organized different listservs within our neighborhood, the Back Bay, and I know others, to problem solve. We had an incident like literally yesterday that was solved in part because of this cross-pollination and communication that's happening. So I think that this is a very proactive approach. It's a very thoughtful approach. I think that having BRIC studying just shoplifting trends has helped a lot of retailers understand what's happening so that they can have more preventative measures. And I really want to thank the city for taking this so seriously. It is a quality of life issue. It's been a concern, and we have had a lot of positive feedback ever since we've been participating in this. So thank you very much. And I am going to introduce Robert George from Roxbury Main Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And we're truly excited to participate in the Safe Shopping Initiative. D.A. Hayden, May Wu, and Commissioner Cox, on behalf of the entire Roxbury Main Street Board of Directors, we'd like to thank you for the hard work you guys have done so far. As you heard from the mayor, that we have new lighting in Nubian Square. Also, due to the mayor's directive on Commissioner Cox and his entire PD team, we have walking beats in Nubian Square. And that has been an initiative for years that the local merchants and the Main Streets organization have lobbied for significantly. That has made a significant difference. In the short time that we have these additional officers in the square, it's become more visitor-friendly, more safer for the neighborhoods, and we've seen a drastic reduction in what we call petty crime and shoplifting. What that results is that folks will feel safer coming to Nubian Square, and that will result in new business, new revenues for all the folks who have been existing in Nubian Square, have been crying out for help. So once again, we're thankful for the initiative and the leadership you guys are providing by giving us the resources to have a safe Nubian Square so our business can continue to flourish and be successful. And as the DA says, not thinking about closing. Because many of those guys have been there for 15, 20, 30 years. And because of some of the crime issues and public health issues, we're considering leaving. Now they're all excited. And we're excited to move forward with this initiative. The Safe Shopping Initiative is something we're going to get into. And thank you guys for being so creative, with this program, and Newbern Square is a lot safer than it was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and even a year ago. So the work from the BPD and the City of Boston, the DA's office, is paying off. Thank you so much for those initiatives. And I think the downtown crossing guys are going to make
Downtown crossing guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, I'm the downtown crossing guy. Michael Nichols, president of the Downtown Boston Alliance. We represent the 250 commercial buildings in downtown Crossing in the financial district, the 500 or so retail storefronts in that district, and a constellation of thousands of small businesses and businesses of all sizes occupying our office environment in our retail sector. We were thrilled at the onset of the Safe Shopping Initiative, as it is an existential issue to the success of a downtown. We're one of the 25 or so largest organizations of our type in the country. We're networked with all the rest of them, and each day we think about how to make a clean, safe, and welcoming environment within the downtown. And so criminal issues, and specifically the issue of shoplifting, have a profound impact on people's willingness to be there, to spend time there, to feel safe there, to want to go to work there, to come take in a theater show or visit a restaurant while shopping while they spend some time downtown. This issue was paramount to us. I can't tell you how much over the last year or so, as we've focused more on this issue, we have had a dramatic decline in hearing from our retailers on this issue, from observing criminal and police reports on this issue relative to its prevalence within the downtown. And for one theme that you've heard from a number of the stakeholders today, we are thrilled at a rapidly declining vacancy rate in our retail environment. About 2 to 2.5 years ago, we had something like 110 of our 500 retail storefronts vacant coming out of the pandemic, a similar trend to similar districts to ours around the rest of the country. We were down to something like 60 vacancies today, with 40 new leases signed in the last 2 years, and an even more rapid pace of those leases being signed since the outset of this Safe Shopping Initiative. The core focuses, or the core reasons for that success are, one, that downtown Boston remains a compelling place to do business. It remains that our district sits at the intersection of our entire region's public transportation system. We have the plurality of jobs within the greater Boston region sitting in the financial district and downtown Crossing. And with the work of the commissioner, the mayor and her team, the DA's office, it has become a dramatically safer and more enjoyable place to be over the last year. And so we're thrilled to be seeing that trend. We hope to see it continue and accelerate in the years ahead. And on behalf of all of the retailers and those who spend so much time in downtown, we appreciate the work of this group and look forward to continuing to support it as it moves forward.
So we will take some questions from you all.
What is the current statistics? You mentioned the national statistics of 93%, 90% from 2023, but what is shoplifting up in Boston? Like, how would you characterize that right now?
So currently, yes, currently we are, as middle of the year, unlike, any other time, but we're probably up currently about 15% in shoplifting, reported incidents. But some of that's to be expected, because right now, as you probably heard before, a lot of vendors are actually telling us about it more. They're reporting it a lot more, which is a good thing, believe it or not. So we can actually use that data, analyze it, partner, figure out trends and patterns associated with it. So yes, we are seeing an uptick, but it was also almost expected, because of the fact is we have more people who are more willing to work with us, as opposed to a hopeless merchant who says, well, what difference does it make to report it, because nothing's going to happen from it. So we did expect it.
To clarify, you're up 15% from what level?
From last year,
From
this
last year.
at this point last year. Yes.
Can you talk about the connectivity between people determining where they want to shop and understanding that certain neighborhoods have a higher shoplifting rate, and possibly along with that, more violence in that area? How important is that?
How people choose where they shop?
I can jump in quickly on that, because we suffer from that. Historically, Newbern Square has had what we refer to some challenges with crime, etc. And so folks will think twice of coming to Newbern Square to shop to go somewhere else. So with the Safe Shoppers Initiative and the success we have seen with the walking beats and increased patrol, families in Newbern Square itself and visitors are feeling much more comfortable because it's so visible. We see the officers there in the vehicles, we see the officers walking the street, we see the public health officials walking the streets. So folks who are driving by who said, I'm not stopping, are now stopping to get a pizza, get a new suit, etc., etc. So the visible presence is helping to drive business in the retail district.
And how, of the people arrested for shoplifting, how many are repeat offenders who are prosecuted or violent offenders, and how many are directed into the services program?
So I certainly don't have those numbers at my fingertips. But what I can tell you is that, and that's part of being nimble, and that's part of the approach, we're looking at everything on a case-by-case basis. First of all, service over sentence is a voluntary program, so someone has to choose to avail themselves of it. But if they do, and they qualify for it, then we will offer that opportunity. Same thing with veterans courts, other opportunities as well. But the repeat offenders, the violent offenders, and those who, quite frankly, are profiting. I mean, I'm talking about significantly profiting. We heard about $34,000, that sort of thing. Those people the diversion and service over sentence is not available for them. Okay, that's just not the case. So I don't have those exact breakdowns, but we are nimbly looking at every situation in order to determine what's best and appropriate. And oftentimes, the reality is sometimes that's accountability. We need, and to answer your question, look, people are going to go where they're going to go, and people aren't going to transcend all across the city to go somewhere else because it's safer there. They're going to go what's convenient to them. So we want every place in the city that's convenient to people to also be safe for people, right? And we want the businesses, look, the economic aspect's not lost on any of us, and Ryan mentioned it. We want businesses here in our communities. And we want businesses, frankly, and I know that I'm not going to step into too much controversy, but I will tell you that here in Boston, Target has been fantastic. Target in South Bay has been great. They have been a hard-working partner with us on all of these initiatives and everything that we're trying to do, whether it's figuring out how to make security cameras work better, whether it's figuring out how to better report who the repeat offenders are, who's transcending South Bay and maybe robbing over at Best Buy and then coming over to Target, but more importantly, also giving back into the community. So Target is giving into our communities. Target is hiring people in our communities. Target is showing up at Suffolk County District Attorney's Office basketball for peace with contributions and with personnel to help young people get involved in something that doesn't have them sitting around idly and running the streets. Those are the types of business partners that we want. We're going to do everything we can to assist them. And how and when someone is diverted or prosecuted and what the level of accountability is, it really runs the gambit. Someone could be held accountable and be put on probation. Someone could be held accountable and go to jail. Someone could receive a continuance without a finding. So it'd be really difficult without sitting down and really running some hard numbers to give you those statistics.
Mr. DA, you put out a press release yesterday about a man who has a history of shoplifting, Joshua Sullivan, who also has been arrested for some more serious crimes recently. He was arrested, he was released yesterday under the LaValle protocol. How do you feel about the implementation of this protocol, and is it making people in Suffolk County less safe?
Well, look, the protocol is what it is. Defendants have a right to counsel, and we're doing our very best to deal with that. As I thought about what I would say today, I anticipated that we would get a question about what's going on with the lawyer strike and the LaValle protocols. And I said, look, the reality is that it's going to happen, that someone that is driving retail theft in a way that requires accountability, someone that is involved in retail theft in a way that is resulting in not just shoplifting but violent crime as well, that it's going to happen, that those people could get released. And lo and behold, before 24 hours was up, it happened. This stoppage is a real issue, and we can't kid ourselves. Does it affect public safety? Could it have a a bigger and larger impact on public safety? Yes, it could. We're doing everything we can, case by case in court, to oppose someone's release when we can, based on the law. We have to follow the law just like everybody else. That means sometimes that people are going to get released. That means under these protocols that sometimes judges are going to be left with no alternative but to determine that someone needs to be released because they weren't appointed counsel. And we're not even to the end of that yet, where we get to the 45 days without counsel and then where the case has to be dismissed. We're working on and preparing for how we'll deal with that now. But let's not kid ourselves. The situation is real, and it's real because we've already seen it, right? You've heard our legislators, some of our leading legislators have encouraged defense attorneys to operate in good faith and get back to work while we figure this problem out. Do they need and deserve higher pay? Yes. How do we achieve that within budgetary constraints, within the budgets that we have and that the state has, and in the dire times we're at? Unfortunately, we have to grapple with those hard questions. None of us really know the answer. But people have to be represented by counsel. That's a constitutional issue. But when appropriate, when someone is held accountable and needs to be held, that needs to happen too, so that we make sure that people are safe. And we're going to continue to work on that, and hopefully the issue will be resolved soon.
Are you asking people like Commissioner Cox to keep a closer eye on these folks, given that they're not in jail right now when they might otherwise have been? Can you surveil them more in the public?
That's a tough question, to be frank with you. I mean, there was an individual who was impacting Mass and Cass who was released a couple days ago. The judge was left with no alternative but to release them. That person probably went straight back to Mass and Cass, right? What do we do about that? If there's not a trespass order or a stay-away order in place and it's hard to enforce, are you going to necessarily see that person? Can you surveil people at that level 24/7? It's a difficult thing to do. That's why we want to make sure that people are, A, represented by counsel, good counsel that's going to protect them and protect their rights, but B, have a system work in a way that makes sure that public safety is ensured, and that when people do need to be held, that they are. And, you know, that's at risk right now. We would be kidding ourselves to think otherwise. God willing, nothing terrible will happen. The district attorney's office is going to continue to do everything we can in every single case. So there are a number that are coming up. We review every single one of them. We oppose them when we can. Ultimately, the judge makes a determination, and all of us end up living with it.
I'm going to stay on topic, all right? I think we'll just, Commissioner, did you want to jump in on stats and arrests or something? What did you
No, I just said, you know, based on, in the last certainly 5 years, there's about 20% of people who have been arrested for, you know, repeat offenses.
One more question and then we're done.
I do have a stats question. Looking at Part 1 crime up until this point this year, it looks like robbery and attempted is down below the 5-year average, but commercial burglary and other larceny, so far, we're in July, it's already above the 5-year average. So can you just define those crime categories so that we know what we're talking about when we write about those? And then also just say, kind of definitively, how the public should make sense of those things being up, given that we have this issue.
So now, mid-year statistics are always a tough thing in general. At the end, you know, it's usually, you know, more reflective of what they might mean. Maybe offline here, we'll have Brick give you definitions. No, definitions of each category. But, you know, commercial robbery is one of those categories that have been impacted by the fact that someone is doing shoplifting in a retail industry, and they actually, there's some form of violence or something associated with it, or more importantly, it's more than one offense, like they had trespassed prior to that. It gets upgraded in categories. And so, again, the more people report, the more our stats might go up in this particular area. So, but it's really tough to talk about mid-year stats only because it's just kind of mid-year. And but usually we found it last year that was a big indicator, like the addition of the way NIBRS, categories a crime. If you're doing a shoplifting and you've been trespassed prior or there's some kind of violence or something associated, it gets upgraded to a different category. Okay.
All right, thank you.
All set? Thanks.